They're faced with a two-part problem. The first part is how do they translate their business model into these marketplaces? And the second part is how do they get their engineering teams to do the integration work required in order to establish a presence in the cloud market?
John, I'm excited to chat with you today and hear more about Tackle.io. To begin, can you describe your company? What is it in 5 seconds? Very brief. What is it?
Yeah, we help software companies sell software through the cloud.
So where did this begin? What problem did you initially see? They're like, I need to solve this.
It was interesting. Our founder, CTO, and head of product, Dylan Woods, was doing some experimentation with the AWS marketplace in the mid 2000s. And, the clouds were rapidly disrupting so many parts of B2B tech and just the way companies operated, but they hadn't really changed the way, Amazon had changed the way everything was bought from a B2C commerce standpoint. They hadn't done that from a B2B standpoint. And they created the AWS marketplace in 2012. And in the early days, it was just a way to get access to an operating system or something you might use as you're building products. But over time, it started to become this new way of selling and buying software. And Dylan saw that pattern and was like, I think there's something in here. I'm not 100% sure of what it is, and started doing some experimentation. So he was part of some early betas of the evolution of marketplace with SaaS. And originally we thought we might build a digital distributor, like a way for people to get access to open source and buy it on demand. But rapidly we found that was a race to zero. And we took a lot of the tooling that we started to create and started to build out what we have now, which is a commerce platform for software companies to embrace these new pathways to revenue via the cloud.
Give me a use case then of one of these companies, or a more recent one of where you really have been able to play a role, and so someone else can understand how this all works, your business model.
Yeah, for a software company that wants to engage with the cloud marketplace, they're faced with a two-part problem. The first part is how do they translate their business model into these marketplaces? And the second part is how do they get their engineering teams to do the integration work required in order to establish a presence in the cloud marketplace? And oftentimes those are two very different stakeholder groups. And for many of these companies, it's the first time they're embarking on this journey. So what Tackle does is we make both sides of that problem really easy for software companies. And I'd use an example, one of our customers, Auth0, they help authenticate. They're the back end of most SaaS application authentication, and they're a unicorn company, really fast growing, amazing company. We use Auth0 in our product, and they wanted to go on this marketplace journey, but they were already really growing fast. And their head of partnerships, Eric Snyder, was like, I want to go this way, and their CRO said, well, go find a deal and then come back to me, and we'll go talk to the product team. And he goes out and partners with the cloud provider and discovers a great opportunity. A customer wanted to buy in this way, and they went back, and the CRO was like, okay, let's go talk to the product team. And the product team, like in every software company, their backlog's full. They have more to do than they can ever do. They don't have enough resources. So, and deals have a shelf life. Like, you can't find an opportunity and let it sit for 6 months while you figure out how to get resources prioritized to execute in this way. They found their way to Tackle. We were able to help them get into marketplace in 10 days, and they were able to do a meaningful transaction on the 11th day. We're built serverless, so which is for the nature of this work makes a lot of sense and is highly efficient. And we manage the platform base, manages the API interchange with all the cloud marketplaces. So that comes out of the box with the platform. And then over time, we built a lot of resiliency to manage edge cases where a notification doesn't come through or something goes bump in the process. And across our 200 customers, we've discovered a lot of those kind of loose, rough edges and been able to smooth them out within the platform. So trust and resiliency is a big part of what comes with our solution. And then the third piece is around giving sellers the tools they need to scale revenue through these channels. And what scale means is, how do I report on what these transactions look like? How do I understand the details of the financials? How do I understand when I would get money if someone bought something? How do I look at that over time? And how do I make the offer process really easy? If I'm going to transact through the cloud, that needs to be as easy, if not easier, than doing a deal direct, because why would one of our sellers want to take advantage of that?
What other types of solutions out there, and why are you different, competitors wise? How is your product different?
Most of the time, the competition for us is build. So people are trying to figure out how to build these on their own. And for us, we offer, we're laser focused on marketplace for B2B software. It's what we do. We're a team of lifelong enterprise B2B sellers and technologists. So we've grown up in this industry, and then getting to try to disrupt the work that we've always done for us is really, really fun. So we're super passionate about it. If you follow any of our content on social media, you'll see constantly publishing things and talking to customers and partners, and just really trying to embrace thought leadership. So I think, and then we're designed to be highly iterative. So we are, the nature of the way our platform's designed and the way we engage with customers, we're constantly releasing software. Every week, new features are hitting that make the platform better, that deliver more value for a seller, make it easier for their buyers, make it easier for the cloud providers. And I think that just focus on continuous innovation, or setting the pace of innovation in this marketplace world, is a big differentiator for us.
Looking forward then, what are your plans? Where do you see the company in the near future, like a year from now, and in a little bit longer, maybe 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think in a year from now, we really just want to stay laser focused on our persona, which is software sellers. And how do we help sellers sell through the clouds in a way that's better than selling direct? And how do we make that process as fast and seamless for sellers, and even helping buyers buy in a more simplified way, but really keeping the seller central. And that means we have to partner closely with the marketplaces to understand where they're innovating and how we can complement and make that innovation easier to consume for sellers. I think as we think longer term, obviously there's, I'll always joke we're in like the third inning of cloud. We're like in the first inning of marketplace. And there's a lot of ways it could go. If there were hundreds of marketplaces, what does that mean? If the hyperscalers win and those hundreds of marketplaces have, single digit market share, what does that mean? So we're always thinking about that. And, in any marketplace dynamic, you have sellers, you have buyers, so supply, and then consumers, and then you have the workflow that exists between them. And you want quality of supply, you want consistency of consumption, and you want a seamless workflow.
Where can people go to learn more about Tackle, and what's a good first step for them to take?
Yeah, best place to go, you can go to our website, tackle.io. You could follow us on Twitter or on LinkedIn. We publish a ton of content just around the marketplace movement. And I'd say that the easiest spot, if you were interested in learning more, is to send a note to hello@tackle.io, and one of our team could engage with you and at least understand the products that you have, and would they be a good fit for marketplace today, or does it make more sense to think about them evolving more, both the marketplaces and your products to come together?
Be sure to watch part 2 of my conversation with John, in which he describes his journey from selling baseball cards to becoming the CEO of a technology startup.